And stop the screen share for a moment. Hello, amazing humans. How are you all? It's lovely to see you. It's wonderful to see you, actually. We're going to talk about magic numbers today, which I'm very excited about. And what I'm planning to do is, you've got tutorials and checklists and calculators and all that stuff in the module. So I don't want to spend huge amounts of time on these calls going through that. I'm just going to quickly give you a couple of quick highlights as to where we're at, just in case someone's going, oh, yeah, that's right. I'm meant to be doing some other stuff, not just jump on calls and have chats. So I'll give you a quick overview of where you should be at. And there's just something in particular, like a little hack that I want you to be aware of that I'm going to point out to you. And I want to hear any questions you've got in particular about like your money system. If there's something specific, like how do I actually do this or what's happening here, please let me know in the chat box if you have a question or any question at all. Like it's always open forum. Absolutely anything specific to what we're talking about today, let me hear about it, but anything at all that's going on for you. If it's loosely related to money, your business, and all of that good stuff, then we're going to talk about it. So I want to hear also, what are we celebrating? What's some good stuff that's happened for you this week? Tell me just one awesome thing. Sharon is so excited, ticking something off on the bucket list. Yes, Spencer Tunick photo shoot. Nice. Ooh, with 1,000 other naked people. Yay. There's safety in numbers, isn't there? That's awesome. That's awesome. It's very exciting. Let me know something wonderful that we can celebrate with you this week. Let's keep tuning in to all the good things that are going on. I saw Jackie find $5 on the street. I'm like, oh my God, it's not even coins. It's like a note. How cool is that? It's that energy that you're constantly looking to tune into, to reinforce, to keep, checking in with and going, am I actually on that vibration? And so it's really nice when the universe sends you, a little bit of cash, like just as you're walking the dog, because it's like a little reminder, isn't it? Hello, are you tuned into that beautiful frequency of abundance? So today, we're still going along on the practical modules. However, there's such an amazing opportunity for you to notice all the little gremlins, right? All the little gremlins. So as they pop up, notice them, thank them, because they're here to try and keep you safe. They're just doing their very best with the limited knowledge they have. And, just park things, like keep a little list. And when we get to looking at old stories and so on, you might find that all of those individual bits and pieces are actually just part of one big story. So as we're putting our money system together, often we're tackling some really big stories just in that we're sitting down, actually, saying, all right, money, I'm going to tell you what I want you to do for me. And I have a system and I know I trust myself and I have a plan. It's often just that alone is a huge story that we come up against. So Claire got an amazing tax refund. Yes. Sharon's going to win one of the Amazon vouchers. I sent out a survey. I screwed it up twice, but hopefully you got the right link in the end. I sent out a survey. If you have a minute, that would be appreciated. Lena's accountant has finished the financials. We're getting a refund. I love that. A refund and a record month for the first time in 20 years. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Double whammy, right? So old stories around, I'm not good with money and all that jazz. So I want to know, first of all, just as you moved into adulthood, like just drop stuff in the chat box for me as I'm sort of talking. Who taught you how to manage money? Like, how did you figure that out? Were you lucky enough that somebody actually sat you down and said, hey, here's some pointers, or did you just have to kind of find your own way? And so how did that leave you feeling about your confidence level around money? And Karen's excited. Yes, everybody loves seeing their accountant. Karen, they're wonderful people that help you grow in abundance and sometimes make you do a whole lot of homework, which in my case, I handballed off to Martin. So let me know, and take a moment to consider that, because in this work that you're doing, all of that comes up, right? You're bringing with you all those old stories and all those old experiences. Like, what was it actually like to manage money? When you were a kid, we talked with Sharon last week, she'd just go to the bank of dad, and it was like, she just had to have a reason and the money would be there. And there was no system around it or, any sort of okay, and here's how you do things. No one, Lena says, yep. And that's the most common story that I hear. Had to work it out through trial and error for decades. And finally, through business groups, discovered there were systems. Yes, who knew? And isn't it amazing that often it's not until we go into business that we go, oh shit, I better figure this out, because I'm now in a situation where someone's not just handing me a paycheck every week that I can rely on. So a lot more responsibility falls on us to be really good custodians of our money, to make sure that, when the rivers flowing are plentiful, that we really use that wisely, and then we have a plan for it, so that, when there are those times when there's a bit of a downturn or a bit of a slowdown, or maybe when our focus is elsewhere, that money's got our back, and that's up to us to organise that and to set ourselves up. Sharon says money systems taught through the School of Hard Knocks. Yep. Lena, no one. I read that before. Sorry. Charlene, that's the one I didn't. I skipped before. That's been the biggest learning. Kicked out of home at 15. Yep. Had to do a lot of work. I know. And look at you now. You're so you just embrace your money and go, come on, I've got all this work for you to do. You're going to love it. Karen would sit with dad and learn how he prepared his taxes, and she became an accountant. Isn't that interesting? Catherine would give him $50 pocket money each week, and it was up to us to buy anything we needed. Yep. And, take a moment to think about that. What are you teaching your children or, the young people in your life about money? Are you helping them? Are you helping them develop some really good habits, good attitudes, and just showing them a few things? Amy says, no one ever taught me. I'm excited to learn a system. Yay. And Sharon, hard to believe, I graduated with a major in business accounting and economics and couldn't manage my credit card. Isn't that interesting? Because this is one of my little bugbears, that you go into business often and, you go see your accountant and they'll look at all your business financials. And I know I spent years where no accountant of mine ever said, and how's your personal finances looking? How are you going? Do you know what to do? It was just like, oh, your business is doing great. And meanwhile, I was under financial stress a lot of that time, and they had no idea. And so, it really is about marrying the two worlds, and especially when you're in a small business, a micro business, even when you're just starting out and it's like, I am the business. And you have to really get your head around, no, these are two separate entities, and I'm creating a business, but it has to pay me and I have to live. But they're not separate, they're very, very powerfully linked. And so you really need to have a system that takes care of both sides of that. And that's what we do with the Magnetic Money Management System. We don't focus heavily on the kind of business accounting side of things, but we make sure that you know how much your business should be looking to earn, how much you need. And today we're going to talk about the magic number. And then that money that your business is generating to pay you is being used to grow your personal wealth. So yes, you'll have goals in your business around growing your business, and that should all be built into your business budgets. But then your business pays you, and you have personal goals, and you want to, generate a certain level of financial freedom and so on. And, that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't happen with one great launch or one big year in business. That happens gradually over time with some really great habits, because if you don't know how to take care of a $50,000 income, you're not going to do any better with a $5 million income. Trust me, I see it constantly. You'd be horrified at what some people earn and how little they have to show for it. Karen's Facebook feed just reminded her of a memory 10 years ago, went to Rolling Stones. Love it. Yes, even finance degrees don't teach you how to manage your personal money. They just don't. And, in Australia, we're lucky enough to have the Barefoot Investor. In the States, they have, what's his name again? I forgot his name now. But, that focus is again solely on personal finances. And then, there is Mike Michalowicz with his Profit First system, which I have some issues with. However, it only focuses on business. And it also assumes that your business is always going to have plenty of surplus. So you can give yourself that first 5% and just go have a party with it. Like, that's not the experience for most micro businesses and small businesses, especially when they're in the early growing phases. Claire had a lot of shame for quite a while going to the accountant around the business. Yep. Isha was taught that savings was the most important thing to do. So it has always been a challenge to enjoy spending. Yes. And the saving, like, what are you actually saving for? People will often go, oh, yes, I really need to save. Mm-hmm. What are you saving for? Are you saving for a haircut, a massage, a holiday, a home deposit, for retirement, to, build an investment portfolio? Like, savings is a generic catch-all, and it means nothing. It just means I'm trying to do my best. Please go away and ask me another question another day, usually. Had a 6-figure income corporate job and credit cards all maxed out. Yes, very common story. So hopefully by now you've had a little play with the Magnetic Money Planner and played with the net worth calculator. I think that's a really great place to start. And I'm well aware that it might be a little bit, daunting potentially. So I would like to know, net worth calculator, have you had a go at it? How do you feel about it? Let me know. I had a chat to somebody during the week in a focus session, and they were like, yeah, but I'm sort of in flux. Like, I've got this big unknown hanging over me and I don't know what to do with my net worth calculator because it could go one way or the other. And so what I suggested is, use it as a visualization exercise. Put in how you see the situation, how you see things turning out, and what you believe, your net worth is right now until this thing resolves itself, and use it as a visualization exercise and get really comfortable rather than energetically constantly going, oh, but maybe I only have this much and maybe I don't own that and maybe I do have to pay for that thing, right? So instead of constantly taking yourself and actually visualizing the worst case scenario, use it as a visualization exercise. That's actually a really good, fun thing to do. So we want to use it to set up where you're starting. And I'm so grateful that we have the net worth calculator in there now, because what happens, it's one of the tabs. Where do I find the calculator? Lena's asking. It's one of the tabs in the Magnetic Money Planner. So now that we have the net worth calculator in there, which is just really simple, like it'll take you a few minutes to fill out, if that, you can see where you're at right now and you can track your progress. And that's a really powerful thing, because you will forget, we talked about that from just an energetic and mindset point of view, that as you grow and expand, your new level of income, your new level of abundance just feels natural and normal because you have normalized to it. So you get to that, oh yeah, of course, this is my life. Of course, I get to do these things. Of course, this is how we holiday and this is where we live and this is the choices and options and level of freedom I have. Of course, it's natural. And it's difficult to take yourself back to where you were years ago, because that's not you anymore. You have become a new version of you. And the exact same thing happens as your net worth grows. The current level of where you're at is just your normal. And so it's very much, oh yeah, of course. And we forget. So it's lovely to have this tracking mechanism where, every 6 months or every 12 months, you can go in there and just go, right, where am I at right now? And you can see your progress in terms of actually building your net worth. Super powerful and really awesome thing to have. And you can also use it to future plan and dream, because at the end of the day, what we're doing with the Magnetic Money Planner and system is, we're not budgeting. yes, we're allocating funds to make sure the bills get paid, which is called budgeting, but it's so much more than that. We're actually planning, we're setting goals, and we're translating that into what does this actually mean? So I say I want this level of freedom, or I want to live beachfront, or I want to be able to, spend 3 months of the year in Greece and have drinks on the beach with Miriam. But what does that translate to in terms of numbers? So your planner is called a planner for a reason. It helps you make the plan, and it gives you a system to then just, step by step execute that plan, because it's a process and it takes time. And so you need to get into those really good habits, learn how to interface with this living, breathing document, which you should be in your planner. Well, the reason I put the distribution calculator in there is so that you get into the habit of going to your planner ideally once a week. For most of us, I'd say weekly, because income can be very up and down, and it just helps smooth it. The more frequently you go in there and do your income distribution, the more you're going to smooth that cash flow. So then it gets you into the habit of going into your planner, staying familiar with what's in there, knowing your figures, updating things. So, the moment you get an email saying, oh, my car insurance has gone up, you should go into your planner and update that. And it gives you an opportunity to go, okay, what's going on in here? Do these numbers still make sense? Is this still appropriate? Makes sense? So we started last week with stock takes. So I wanted you to take stock, number one, dropping all your numbers into the planner, but also just taking stock of how you feel about, organizing your money, sitting down with your planner. Let me know if some things popped up. And I'd be surprised if everybody's like, oh, yeah, no, I'm super chill and cool with that. Because usually there's a bit of avoidance. There's a few excuses that pop up. There's I can't really do that right now because this and that, or I'll do it later, or I'll do it when. So notice that, notice that resistance, acknowledge it, and have a think about, well, why am I making these excuses? Is it because I don't have the knowledge and the education, and this is just new and scary? Is it because I'm running a story that I suck at managing money? Is it because I'm running a story that says there's never enough anyway, so why bother? Right? When you feel like there's not enough, that is the biggest reason of all to get your money organized. It's not an excuse not to organize your money. That is the biggest reason of all to actually get your system sorted. So what are those excuses? Pay attention and be curious. Where's that coming from? Why am I even telling myself that story? Is that really true? So with the magic number focus, we want to really start looking at, what do I want? What do I actually want? What do I want my money to provide me? What do I want in my financial situation? What level of financial freedom and stability am I looking to create? You want to get really connected with that, because that why, that desire is going to need to be powerful and strong enough for you to then do what you need to do to achieve it. So what do you want? And then what do you need to help you stick with it, to help you get it sorted? It's the 5-minute money management system, but you've got to get it set up first. That's the caveat, right? So you've got to get through that process, and we're here to support you. So we'll have a little chat about it at the end of the call today on what's going to help you, what baby steps will help you go through this process. But reach out on the calls, ask me stupid questions, because there is no such thing. Ask in the Facebook group. Just keep checking in and make sure that you are really clear on why you're bothering. So let me do a screen share. Let me know in the comments if anyone's got a question or something they want to share while I find, there it is. Okay. still see my chat box. Okay, so as we move from module 8 to module 9, so module 8 is really just gather all your numbers, dump them in here, and this is just my demo planner, so God knows what it's currently doing. Oh, look, it's actually balanced at the bottom. So we wanted you to just get to a point where you've dropped in all your numbers based on the tracking you've done, based on what you've pulled together from your banking, and just had a little look. Now, like I said, I'm not going to go through this in detail because you've got the training modules and the tutorials to help you with that. But I just want to remind you that this fun money bucket, that's your discretionary spending, which means it's money you get to choose to spend. Right? You don't have to go out for dinner. You don't have to visit the chiropractor this week. You don't have to get a haircut this week. You choose, right? So that's discretionary spending. And this is pretty much going to be most of the things that you would have tracked if you did your tracking. If not, you can start today. It's okay. And it's really good to track and then drop the number in and just go, what does that add up to per year? And sometimes it's like, oh, holy moly. And other times it's like, oh, that's not very much. And yes, every month is going to be different. So it depends on when you were doing the tracking. But I always recommend you start with those real life numbers because you're much more connected to those. So looking at what things add up to in this column here. So, if you add it up for the month, you would have dropped it into the monthly column. And then this will tell you what it adds up to per year. And then you can see, like, where am I spending most of this money? And you can then start making decisions around, what do you feel good about that both ways? Like, I have enough spending money and I'm going to get to enjoy my life, but I'm also keeping it within parameters where I know that I'm not being silly and allowing as much money to be available for wealth creation as possible, right? So you get to make these decisions. This is your planner. So remember that the annualized column is there to help you with that. Bills is for fixed expenses. So it's money that you pretty much have to spend. Now, the one thing about this is, yes, you have to pay your rent or your electricity or pay for groceries or your mobile phone, but the amount is not fixed, right? So a big kind of job to go through, as in a big impact job to go through, is to actually look through all of these things and go, well, where's money just being wasted? Like, we want to plug the leaks. So have a look at where your money's actually been going and see where you can make some changes. So, insurances and things like that and subscriptions, they tend to be forgotten about by most people. So as you go through your banking, you might actually find some things that you're like, oh my God, am I still paying for that? I haven't used that or looked at that in years. Or do I still have that credit card that I cut up 5 years ago and I'm paying an annual fee for it? These sorts of things will pop up. And when you go through that process, and I explain it in more detail in the actual module, when you go through that process, it is very, very common for people to save thousands of dollars per year just by going through that process. So it's like, if you just joined Magnetic Money, you instantly get your money back kind of thing. And then some, because it's an annual thing. So this should be a bit of a process. So my way of doing this is I usually just go through here, like I might bold all of them, and then I'll just go, okay, I'll do 1 or 2 per week, review them and see where I can do some saving. And one of the biggest ones is usually mortgage payments. So, having come from a lending background, I used to tell my clients we would automatically go and review their loans and try and get them better deals. It was just built into our business. And then we would email them and say, hey, we've just saved you so many thousands of dollars per year, which is why our clients all loved us. If your broker isn't doing that, they should be, make them. Or if you don't have a broker, please get a broker. But you can also do it yourself. So sometimes if the situation was a bit weird, I would coach my clients and say, I want you to get on the phone, because sometimes it actually works in your favor to have the client get on the phone, because every single bank has a retention team, and their job is to see how good a deal they can give you to keep you. They only bother doing that when you threaten to leave. So I used to ring up and say, my broker is suggesting that they refinance me to another lender who's currently offering, quick Google, quote the rate. And suddenly they would drop my rate to match it. Now, if you're in a fixed rate, that's a whole other story, and we can talk about that. But it's as simple as that. And you can do that for most things. So that's time well spent, because you're going to be saving money, not just once, but over and over again. Extras bucket. Everybody also, by the way, should by now be quite clear on what the buckets are and which bank accounts you have in which buckets. Extras bucket is kind of where I put all those long-term, it's really long-term discretionary spending usually. It's those annual big ticket things, or maybe you're saving for something bigger. Some examples we've had recently were like, want to build a new deck on the house and pay for it in cash, so we're saving for it. My child's getting married, so we're saving up for that. And the wealth bucket is anything that includes interest, whether it's you paying interest or you being paid interest, because we want to tip those scales from you paying interest and your money and compound interest working against you, to your money working for you and you really accelerating and building momentum on your wealth creation by being paid interest and by earning compound interest. So that's why we keep all that in the wealth creation bucket, because as less money is going towards paying debts, that increases how much money is available towards growing your wealth. But the money all stays in there. See, this is one of the little things that makes such a huge difference that most people do wrong. Like they go, oh, I've paid off that loan, the car loan, and now we have an extra $500 a month to spend. And it's like, where did it go? But we keep it in the wealth bucket, and then it just gets used towards wealth creation instead, because it's all money available for you to build wealth. So a few quick reminders. You want to give every dollar a job to do. That's the job of your planner. Every dollar gets a job to do. You want to make sure your buckets are clear and you know which accounts are part of which buckets. And what we're getting to today is, need versus want, and making sure that your number one focus, that goal you have right now, is front of mind, as exciting and important enough for you to actually stick with the system. So a very big help in you actually sticking with things is to give yourself plenty of wiggle room, to make sure there are buffers in everything. And you might have to come back in here several times and go, shivers, I forgot about that, or that blew out. So adjust the amounts so that you don't get blowouts. It's a living, breathing document. And make sure you give yourself plenty of fun money, because then you're not going to be resentful of having to tighten your belt to achieve something. It's going to allow you to be excited about where you're going and know that your fun money is actually allocated to that. That's its job, because you've allocated other money towards achieving your goals. So you always want to be putting some money towards wealth creation as much as possible. So the job last week was to dump your money in, dump your numbers in here, and then just have a little look. And in this case, it says, okay, my business has to pay me $23.82 per month. And so you might look at that and go, easy, not a problem. Or you might look at that and go, oh, ouch, whatever the number is. It doesn't matter what the numbers are. So that's the stock take. That was last week. And now we're wanting to look at magic number. So there are two numbers that you need to be really clear on. One is your baseline income, which is kind of what I just popped in there, right? In this case, with all these numbers, let's say they've gone through the process and they've adjusted and gone, well, I don't really need to spend, $500 a month in alcohol. That was just us stocking up for a big party. $100 a month will be fine. And so they've gone through and they've done all of that. They've adjusted these numbers, and it'll keep adjusting as you go. And the bottom line is, okay, for all of this to balance, my business needs to pay me $23.82. So that's what your business needs to pay you. And then, of course, we have this beautiful calculator, and you start playing with that, and you say, okay, Let's go, we're working monthly now. Then you play with this calculator and you say, my business needs to pay me minimum $23.82. That's your business paying you. That's not your business's gross income. Big difference, very important. You know the difference. We'll leave tax at 20% because we're kind of just using a percentage of gross income. So let's leave that at 20%. And let's say that this business, I have put numbers in here. This business currently needs $23.50 a month. So then you actually come up with your income goal for your business. This is how much, in this case, if your business operating cost per month is $23.50 and you have to pay yourself $23.82 and you're taking 20% of tax, and yes, we can argue about whether those numbers are reasonable or not. Doesn't matter. It's an exercise. Then your gross income for your business, your target, would be $5,915 per month, right? So that's your baseline income. That's your baseline income target for your business in gross numbers. So in just revenue generated before you pay your business operating costs and before you put tax aside. Does that make sense? If that doesn't make sense, please sing out right away. So that's baseline income. And then from there, we want to go, okay, magic number, because we're looking to grow. So let's say, okay, right now I'm putting $500 a month into my investment fund, whatever that might be. But what I actually want, so that means, sorry, go back. So let's say right now you're putting $500 a month into your investment fund. So that's $6,000 a year. But then you say, okay, well, I actually want to really aggressively grow that. And I want to get rid of my car loans. What have they got here? Hang on. Yep, that's a car loan. And I want to pay off some credit cards. And that you kind of set a goal of wanting to do all of that in the next, 2 years. And I haven't calculated these numbers, so I'm just going to make stuff up. So say you work out that means you're going to need another $500 a week, whatever your goal is. All right, so you start playing with things. You start going, okay, well, what do I want to do? You work out, okay, I need an extra $500 a week for my income goal, for my financial goal. And so that means my business now needs to pay me $45.49 per month, right? Did you see what I did there? I hope you did. And so $45.49, let's just update that down here. $45.49. So this is where you get to just play and go, what does this look like? What does that look like? And now you can go, well, if I can generate $8,600 gross per month, hey presto, job done, right? So that then allows you to business plan and go, well, how can I take my business there? That's the next milestone. So your magic number should always be your next milestone. And one thing I'm really, really big on is that it's one goal at a time. Please don't try to do everything all at once, because all you're going to be doing is spreading yourself thin. When you get an extra $1,000 in, if you then put a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there, it's going to feel like you're going nowhere. So one micro goal at a time. So you can use things like the goal tracker here and go, okay, my first micro goal is pay $2,000 off my credit card, right? And maybe the credit card right now is at $10,000, but you're setting a micro goal so that you can feel excited, so you can move forward, so you can go, yes, this is working. And so all extra money will go towards that. Now, we'll talk next week about how to distribute your income as it comes in. But right now, it's just about getting clear, what is my first micro goal? So we've actually got it in here, but there's also a separate sheet to kind of help you work out, what are your top priorities? Where do you want to go next? And it'll be different for everybody, but usually it's, let's get rid of the debt first. And that's really important. However, if you are somebody who's got no buffer whatsoever, then I recommend you just park the debts for a little bit longer and get some cash behind you, because if something happens, You want to have some money in the bank. So decide, like, depending on where you're at, what has to be that first focus. But you can play with it a little bit here and kind of map it out and see what it looks like and go, okay, well, let's say, first of all, I'm going to get 3 months of living expenses in the bank so that I know I can breathe easy at night in case anything happens. Then I'm going to get rid of that damn credit card once and for all. And then I'm going to, pay off the car loan. And then I'm going to start building some investment funds. So you can kind of play with it and set it all out here. But at the end of the day, you will break it down into one little micro goal at a time. So if your first one is accumulate a savings buffer, great. That can be your first micro goal. But if your first bigger goal on this list is something like, pay off a $50,000 car loan, well, break it down into smaller chunks so that it doesn't feel like a long, hard slog. So it feels like you're constantly achieving little goals. You want to keep that energy really high. So I want to show you one quick thing, that I promised to show you. And that is what we call accelerator payments. So let's say, I'll put it in here. I'll make it school fees. So let's say you've got something like, and these kids obviously don't go to an expensive private school, thank God. Let's say you're putting all of this together, and then you've got your bills bank account, which all of these bills will be paid from. And we'll talk about automation down the track. So there's $1,000 in school fees due once a year, which translates to, where are we? I can't see the number because my chat box is in the way. What is it? $23 a week, I think it is. I can see correctly. Something like that. It's about $20 a week. So yeah, it's $20 a week. Awesome. All I have to do is, have that $20 a week in there, and the school fee money will be there when the time comes. But what if those school fees are due in 2 months' time? So that's when you need an accelerator payment, right? And you need to go, okay, well, right now, do I have some of that money? Great. What's the gap? Do I have none of that money? Oops, I better make sure it's there when I need it, right? So you've got to kind of work out how much you need for this first one, and then you go back to this. So you would literally, I'll just make it a really easy example and say, let's say it's due in 2 months, but you've only got $500 towards it. So you're going to be short $500. So what I would actually do is, and I usually bold it or make it red or something like that, just to remind myself that this needs to be updated. So it's due in a month, you've got 500, you're missing 500. Well, this month you're going to need to come up with $500. You can take that out for the time being. Then once you've paid this first one, then you've got a year at $20 a week to save up, right? And then you go back to where you were and you're all sorted. So go through your planner and find those sorts of things. Don't just start like from zero and then find that, oh, I've got all these quarterly and annual bills due and I don't have a year or a quarter to let the money accumulate. Make those adjustments, bold them, put them in red or whatever you need to do so that once that first one's been paid, then you can go back to just breaking it down. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, please let me know. That's an important one. Now, what else did I have on my list that I wanted to show you? I think that was the only thing. Just remember that you've got the planner. You've got the planner guide. I won't even bother screen sharing it. You've got the planner guide that I showed you last week. You've got the tutorial. It takes you through it all step by step as well. And this wealth creation plan sheet is just, a place where you can spend a bit of time thinking about what those priorities of yours might be. So, how are we going for time? Good. We're going good. Excellent. Okay, so the purpose of this exercise energetically and on a bigger level is to take you from maybe uncertainty or avoidance or discomfort or fear even around managing your money to a place where you're excited about managing your money, where you have a system that you understand, that's really easy, that you feel in control of, that you feel is flexible enough, that you understand, and that allows you to feel empowered. So, can I just check in with you all right now? On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling about putting your money system together if it's the first time ever, or making some adjustments? Let me know. Let me know. Claire's at a 10, which is awesome because she has been working on this a lot. 8, nice. 8, ooh. 10, last round dealt with a lot of the gremlins. Good stuff. Amy's at 6, cool. Unscaling, so back to 7. Okay, Jack is at 9, yes. Jack, can I ask you to unmute, please? Because that just made me so happy. What do you, I know you didn't write it down. What do you think the number might have been when you first joined us?
It would have been like a 3 or a 4 at the most. Yeah, big
Good.
shift.
Amy, you hearing that?
Mapped out.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 2.
Maybe even a 2. So what do you think really, really helped you?
Just seeing it all mapped out was really important. And I still need to use it. Like, you know, I got my bill for the car rego this month and I was like, oh God, did I even put that in? And I just checked a moment ago and it's like, yeah, it's there and it's annual. And I can't do it annual at the moment. So I just edited it and made it quarterly. It's like, I can do quarterly. That's cool. Pressure off, let it go. So, you know, and it's always tweaking and coming back to it. But it's just seeing everything mapped out and, you know, my system is in place now. So there's just the pressure is off and just trusting the system has been really, really, really helpful.
So good. And, you know, that's exactly right. Like you have to keep going in there and updating things and checking, and you should. And I want you to, because, you know, it's out of sight, out of mind. And then that uncertainty creeps in like, oh, is that in there or what's happening? And so just getting into that habit of going in there, ideally every week, because you've got to do your income distribution anyway, you know, even though, yeah, you can do it on the back of a napkin, but I think it's good practice to just open your planner and do it in there and just, you know, keep it, like stay really connected to it. Also, just while you're talking about car registration, do you realize in South Australia we can pay it monthly, which really helps with cash flow? Yes, very helpful. So that's a good general tip too. Anything that you can, you know, cash flow out, pay more frequently in smaller amounts is usually really helpful. Just obviously as long as there's not a huge loading on it. Cool. So Jack, what was your approach to putting it all together? Because that's the bit that, you know, people will sometimes just go, oh, I've got to do this big thing. Once you get to the other side of it, you're like, oh, thank God I did that. What would be your tips, or what was your approach to actually get through it?
It was relatively easy for me because I'd done it really not long before joining Magnetic Money last round, because my ex and I had mapped things out to start going, how do we divide this? So it was quite easy for me to plug in, but I still went through it, and I just went through my bank account over the last month and then back another month just to see what's there, where's things going. And, you know, having listened to this again today, there's okay, I should probably check again the discretionary spending, like a haircut or a massage for myself. You know, I want to check again with that. Like, have I really put that in realistically? I definitely have the buckets all set up. That was easy. And, you know, but it doesn't take that long, and actually it gave me a lot of peace of mind, and I enjoyed the process of just going through and going, up, that one's there, slot it in, that one's there, slot it in. So it was great. And I love your reminder too, thank you, because I do my 5-minute, you know, weekly allocation every week, but I do forget everything that's above there, like just to scroll up again and go, oh yeah, okay, that car rego is coming up in November. Good to know. Like just to stay connected to it. Really good reminder.
Exactly. Yeah. And the accelerator payments, that's a really important one when you're first getting started, because it'll help you avoid those moments where you go, oh shit, I stuffed that one up. You're going to have things pop up where you're like, I forgot about that, or that is a lot more than I allowed for. And that's okay. It's a living, breathing document. You just keep making the adjustments in there. I'd love to hear from somebody who has worked through their planner, but who was convinced that they were shit with money and numbers and was really freaked out by it. That might be you too, Jack, but no, you were fine. Who was convinced that they sucked at managing money before they started this? Anna? Were you? Did you?
Yeah, a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
It is a long time. That's why I was like, I'll think about that. But I was convinced that I was no good at managing money. And there were a lot of stories that went with that. And so at the time I had actually handed over the managing of the money to my partner, who wasn't also good at managing money.
But at least you had someone else to blame.
Right. Well, it was that, but for me, it was most definitely the story of I can't do this. I'm not smart enough to be able to do this. And so magnetic money for me it gave me a system that was really simple. So I could shift that belief system that I wasn't smart enough. And the reality is that anybody can learn it, right?
Yeah. It's not brain surgery.
It's not at all. But it was that step-by-step process of shifting the mindset, as well as just like, oh, I can actually do this. This is a logical step for me. It took it away from the emotional thing. And it was like, this is just logical.
Yeah, that's a huge point, actually, that it allows you to be much less emotional. Like, it's just, what are the numbers telling me I've got to fix or change or do?
Yeah. So that was huge.
Yeah. The other thing that I just remembered as you started sharing is that when you first, I remember it because you posted about it in the group, when you first did the stock take, which is kind of where most people would be at right now for the first time, you went, oh shit, we're $500 a month short or something like that.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, now I know. Well, now I know why.
That was really confronting. And I have to say that, like, when you have chosen to not be responsible for your money for whatever reason that is, and suddenly you're choosing to, that very first tracking is really confrontational for a lot of people, because it's like, I can't, like, again, factual, can't deny that this is where this money is going and this is why we're in the position that we're in. So for anybody who's doing it for the first time, it's actually really normal to freak out.
Yes, it is. Totally.
It's totally normal. Also, though, stay the course. Because as challenging as it is to begin with, the results on the other side are completely, like, it's changed our life. It's been 7 years since I started Magnetic Money. So it's been a long time. And our financial position is really different. And so an example is that we've been doing renovations for quite a while, and we've had some unexpected surprises, shall we say.
Yes.
And we had a buffer there, and we utilized that buffer. Like, that was the best thing we could have done, because otherwise I would have had no showers in my house. what was really interesting was everybody knows I like to talk about Dave, my husband, bless him. He and I were having a conversation about money again a few weeks ago, and I hadn't realized that having that buffer made him feel really secure financially. And because we'd left that buffer, he was like, I can't see, we're not saving any money, like we don't have it, until we had that conversation. And I know I've gone off track, but also that shift for us from being $500 a month, like in debt and not overspending or whatever we were doing, to being able to have a really solid buffer, and then being able to rely on that, and now knowing that we're just rebuilding that buffer again. You know,
it's so cool. Yeah.
It is. So for anybody who's just starting out, or even as you have wobbles going through, because I still have wobbles every now and then, the process is so worth it. It's changed.
Yeah. And it's changed your relationship so much too. Like you and Dave are able to have those conversations now. And
yeah, we're very rarely getting heated in those conversations.
Very rarely. That's
very
good.
rarely now. But also we're both more responsible for our money.
Very cool.
And take ownership. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, when you just said, I'm just going to mention this because you just said it's normal to freak out along the way. You know, there will be times where people freak out. So I see people freak out in the beginning, where it's, you know, they have to get over the hump of actually sitting down and doing it. For some people, that's easier than for others. And then it's actually, you know, looking at how's it looking and making those adjustments and getting to a place where you go, okay, I can see the path forward now. I can see the journey forward. So that's another big milestone. And then the next time that I usually end up having to kind of have a little chat with people is the first time they have to dip into their buffer, right? And this is, you know, where the accumulator archetypes all congregate in magnetic money. Like we're pretty much 90% accumulator archetypes, right? That is just who this resonates with, because it's like, I've got to be safe. I've got to be secure. And so it's really important that we do that inner work so that we know we're always safe and secure. And the buffer, like the first time you have to dip into your buffer, I have to remind people, that is its purpose. The purpose of your buffer is to be there for you when you need some extra money. I mean, I literally have these conversations with my own daughter all the time as well, where she's like, but Mum, this bill's how much you got saved? I don't know, 80 grand. Okay, I think you'll be all right. You know, so an accumulator has that going on all the time. So it's important to remember. Okay. I want to just we'll probably go about 5 minutes over. I want to give you the opportunity just to split you up quickly into groups so that you can out loud share with each other. I'm just going to do 3 rooms. I think that'll be enough. So your homework, like your important milestones, are go through the planner, you know, plug those leaks, make those adjustments, and make sure you know what your baseline income target is. That's why I bothered to demonstrate it, because that's your main outcome, baseline income target, and your magic number. So magic number, micro goals. Cut it down into little itty bitty goals. Once you've ticked that, you can have the next itty bitty goal, but go for one at a time. Please, please, please. That can be a really big habit that people need to get out of, but it's going to serve you really, really well. All right, I'm going to open the rooms. I would like you to share with each other what your baby steps are. What's your, you know yourself, you know where you might need some help or support, or what could possibly get you unstuck or slow you down. So share with each other, please, what your baby steps are going to be that will get that momentum going for you. I'll let you go have a quick chat and share. Hopefully you can all see the rooms. They're back. They're back. They're back. Good. Did you come up with some good stuff?
You're so harsh.
Awesome.
You are so harsh. It's every time it's like, oh, the minute's going second.
Sorry. It's never enough time, is it? Never enough time. Very goodly. Okay, so I will be prompting you in the Facebook group, because what I'm going to want to hear is, what is that first micro goal? Now, sometimes for people, it's to get to my baseline income. That's okay, right? Or it might be like a really big, exciting thing. But remember, micro goals. It can be exciting, and it's your first step, because we want you to celebrate and go, this is working, as soon as possible. So I'll be asking you to share, what is that micro goal? How do you feel about it? And of course, plug it in your planner and let us know. Let us know what's going on for you. We want to support you through this process. We want to cheer you on. We want to talk you off the ledge. If you decide to step on a ledge, you can do this. People have gone before you, more convinced than you could ever be convinced that they can't do it, or that they have all the excuses and reasons. You can absolutely do this. You're going to be so glad you did. And then you can encourage the next lot of people. So I look forward to celebrating all of those awesome milestones with you. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you to those of you who are on the replay. Hello, come and let us know in the Facebook group how you went. And I'll see you next week when we're going to talk about #money momentum. Yay. Bye for now.